Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Brazen. I've already had so much fun and I haven't even, like, we just pressed record. Sarah and I have been chatting for a while now and it's been the best conversation. We know exactly when this podcast episode is going to hit because of spooky vibes and just a little bit of an intuitive nudge. So you're hearing this around October 25th, I'm guessing, unless you listen to it afterwards. And I'm really excited because I'm excited to infuse this episode with that energy with Sarah because she has the aesthetic, she has the look, she has her red lip on. It's her first time ever wearing red lipstick and she looks like a fucking goddess. If you're not watching this on YouTube and you're listening to it, head over to YouTube, by the way. Let me introduce Sarah to you. Sarah Ludlum is a woman that I have had the absolute fucking honor of getting to know since about March. And she and I have been working together in retreats in the Brazen Sisterhood, in Women Rising. Weren't you in Women Rising as well? Yeah. And every single time I have the opportunity to hang out with you, it is nothing short of amazing. The opportunities that come forward during and afterwards that you share as wins and celebrations, the healings that you have, and that you give yourself, the moments of clarity, the moments of empowerment, you share your story as medicine for women inside of these events. And when I reached out into the Brazen Sisterhood and asked if there was any women that wanted to come on the podcast and share their stories and just be here and have this conversation, you were like, fucking yes, I do. And I love that. You're such a fucking light in this world. You're so refreshing, Sarah. And I want to introduce listener, you got to hear this. Sarah Ludlum. She says, I am a mom, a published writer, a photographer, a music audiophile, and at times a reluctant personal life coach to my family and friends. I feel that on a personal level. I have lived a life unique of unique experiences that have led me to writing my first book about how I survived carrying a 65-pound hernia after the birth of my son. Sarah Ludlum, you have lived a life. You are full of wisdom. You are full of love and light. And no matter what you have walked through, every time I see your face and I'm in your energy, I know that it's pure love. Every bit of the wisdom that you have, you told me pretty much, not all, maybe pretty much all, was born in pain. And you still sit here with a smile and with love in your eyes and in your heart, and you share it and you spread it. And I am just so honored that you're here. Would you like to introduce yourself to everyone?
Thank you for having me on here, Heather. Yes, my name is Sarah Ludlum. I actually like to go by Sarah Jane.
Mm,
Yeah, it's funny. There's a lot of Sarahs in this world, right? So I like
yeah.
to set myself apart. But yeah, I'm here today to share if there's a way that I can help to make it better for somebody else, for them to not feel so alone, because that feeling and sensation of being alone in your own pain and trauma, I don't wish that upon anyone. I really just don't. So I'm not here to make my story be about where I'm telling someone how to do it. I just want them to understand they're not alone because I mean it that sensation of feeling alone, that's brutal. Just a brutal
Mm,
pain. So
it
I'm happy to
is.
be here today. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for saying yes.
This fun. Like I said, it's fun.
This is your first podcast, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah. I've done a few other little things locally. I live in a little like Victorian town in
Oh,
Washington State. I've done a few little things, but this is bigger and it's cool. But yeah, definitely a good
oh,
leap.
good, good. Would you like to talk to me about your journey to becoming a published writer and a photographer and an artist? And not, I guess, becoming an artist, but coming back to the artist within you.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do so. What's so funny is my dad and I were talking about this recently, that since I was little, I have always either taken photos or painted or drawn or done something with the arts. I sing, I do anything with music. I love music. And I, for years, drew and drew and drew and drew and drew and called them doodles, but came to terms with the fact, no, I'm an artist. And I'm happy with that. I've come to a place where I've been through a lot of pain, I've been through a lot of trauma, but I've come into owning the fact that I'm artistic and it's a way for me to handle what's going on and to also infuse some of the trauma and the light and the dark with my art, with my photography, with my writing, especially my writing. It's been magical. I've been published 6 times since January. which is shocking to me. Like I still had to pinch myself a little bit and go, "Oh my gosh, you're a writer." Because I grew up with the Ludlum name being about Robert Ludlum, who wrote about the Born Identity books. And so it's funny to me because there's a little full circle moment going on where I'm like, I don't write anything like that. I don't at all. I write in things to help others to have a moment to relate to going, I'm not alone in this. I'm not alone in
Mhm.
this world. I'm not alone in these experiences. And I don't want to also have people pity me. I hate that. I'm not a victim of any of the stuff that has happened, but I'm a warrior. I really truly feel that. And I've been through some stuff. And so if I can help one person today, then it's made it worth it.
You are a fucking warrior.
Thank you.
What are some of the skill sets in your life that you've gathered as a warrior?
Um, Empathy, I think, is the biggest one.
Mm.
I think we have an option when something really, truly tragic happens to us, where we can decide to let it define us and it makes us hardened and it makes us turned off in this world and it makes us become bitter and angry. And we can embrace that. And I can totally go into that dark path. But I have chosen not to go there. I've had some experiences that I would rather be empathetic. I would rather be understanding, kind, and loving. My great my greatest accomplishment, though, is being a mother to two children who look to me daily to go, how do we handle this? And
Mm.
they are the loves of my life. The day my daughter was born was the day that I fully fell in love with somebody, and today's her 22nd birthday.
Can
And
I tell you something so odd? Sorry, we were talking before this about how that number means something to you. 22 is a very important number in my life as well.
is it?
Yeah. Like it's so important that I was very deep into softball in high school, like big time, and that was my number in softball.
I love that.
Yeah.
22 is important to us too. I was 22 when I had her, and she
Mm,
hey, yeah, my son's 11 and I'm 44. So we had this little chat last night. We're like, that's kind of spooky.
yeah.
Like
Oh wait.
it's all the repeated 11,
Yeah.
22, 44. It's kind of
That's
wild,
so in that's so interesting.
right?
Also, something just popped up, and I don't know why I feel like I have to share this. So I was wrong. It wasn't my number. That number wasn't my softball number. It was a different sports number. And it just reminded me of a woman that I was friends with in high school because that was her softball number. And as soon as I said that, or not said that, as soon as my brain went there, as soon as that happened, I was like, Sarah said something about this friend from high school
Hmm.
that before we press record. So I'm just trusting intuition. Will you tell me like about what was that?
So she was named after a month. I don't want to say her birth month because
That's
then,
fine.
you know, but she was kind of like the older sister I always wanted when I was a
Mm,
kid. She was a few years older than me, but she was just that person that like clicks into place with you. Like,
yeah.
have you ever met somebody that you instantly become like magnets?
Yeah.
And she was that for me. And she was that person that when things were rough would go, lift your head up. It's gonna be okay. Take your shit,
Mhm.
own your shit. It's gonna be okay. And you have this vibe about you that since the moment I found you on Insta, that I was like, oh my gosh, she reminds me so much of her. And then I did the spring retreat with you, and I was on a trip to take care of my brother
Yeah.
Colorado with my son
Yeah.
in the other room, and I'm crying through this entire thing, going, this is like things that were not quite matching up are now clicking into place. And I feel that with you, Heather. I really do. And I feel very blessed and honored to get to know you more. I really do. This has been a great group that you created, and it's something that should be honored because we need more brazen sisterhood. We need
Yeah.
to be as women, especially what's going on right now. We need to be empowering one another and not tearing each other down.
I adore you so much.
Thank you.
You're
I adore.
welcome. Can I tell you something very interesting?
Yes.
The only reason that you saw that within her is because it lives within you.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
It's funny how there's certain times in your life that little whispers come to you and they get
Mm,
louder and louder and louder and louder. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I'm facing what's going on. And you go, oh, wait, I've been what's going on the whole time. And you look in the mirror and go, "Ah, I see you."
hmm
I see you and I love you. That is a huge thing.
Yeah.
Is now looking in the mirror and going, I love you and I see you for who you are. It's
Hell
a big
yeah.
deal. It's a
It
big deal.
is. Having you in the spring retreat earlier this year, like you were saying, like you were traveling and you had so much stuff going on and you were so fucking dedicated to the work though. Like these retreats are so intentionally created and they're intentionally scheduled around the eclipses every year. Those energies, they are not one to, I don't want to say not always, but for the most part, they are not the type of energies to ride it solo as a lone wolf. It's much easier to go through those with a community. And especially while traveling and dealing with everything that you were dealing with and like getting everything ready and knowing that you had so much happen at a soul level because these are like mind body and soul retreats. They are online but it feels like, and let me ask you, does it feel like in person? Like what does
It
it feel
does.
like?
It's so weird that it does, but it does. I
Right.
started talking to one of the girls. We were messaging a little bit back and forth during it because we're both book nerds. And it was funny. It helped. I don't know. It helped to make the trifecta come into place where it was mind, body, and soul. And I think that, we had one meditation day with you where you were leading this meditation with us, and all the things that had felt scattered around me, all of a
Mm.
sudden just clicked into alignment. And it's just all of a sudden clicked, and it did feel like I was in the room with you and with the other ladies. And quite frankly, it was the first time I had in a long time been able to get all the extra thoughts in my brain that do not like to turn off to go, shh, and for us to be able to go, wow, this is why we're here. So yeah, that alignment was it was badass. I mean, I've had that with you since,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but being there in Colorado, which I wasn't expected to be there, it was a very like last minute kind of situation that I could just go, holy crap. And that first night after we did that meditation, I was in an Airbnb, which this Airbnb was so cool. You would have totally dug it. It had a black
Yeah.
bathroom with like quad, like tile, like, or I mean, bath.
Oh,
Yeah. It was cool. It was Victorian. It was badass. I was so happy.
oh,
But
tell fucking delicious.
it was gorgeous. It had a chandelier. I'm firm believing that like the house that I move into next is going to have like at least a chandelier in my bedroom and one in the bathroom because now I know you can do that. It was like eye-opening. So standing in the
Oh,
mirror and I'm doing this like, you'd asked us to like look at ourselves and really look at ourselves. And I had a breakthrough that evening. And then we met up the next day and everything just aligned. It aligned exactly how it needed to be. And like with this podcast, it's aligning. Things have been a little chaotic and wonky this week because there's some weird stuff going on, but things are aligning. And it's needed. And so with writing, with the book I'm writing, it's lining up too. It's kind of wild. It's kind of
oh.
wild. That so.
So tell me about how this book is different than the other ones that you published.
So this book is so personal.
Yeah.
It's so personal. It's about being put in such a physically impossible situation that you have to claw yourself out of and how it radically changes you. You can't come back the same person once you go through something so dramatic is not the word I want to use, but so traumatizing. It was traumatizing.
Yeah.
And end of it being able to come out of it and going, you're still here, kid, and you're gonna be okay. That's a huge, huge revelation. And so that's what makes it different. This is very personal. I think anyone that has to carry something around so physically demanding on their body for 2.5 years, I carried it for 2.5 years. And I can go into a little detail if you'd like more info about.
Yeah.
So my sweet boy, he's 11 now. And when I was giving birth to him, I had a very traumatic birth with him. And I had an emergency cesarean. And when that happened, my abdominal wall collapsed. And there were things that had happened traumatizing in my body that I ended up carrying this hernia. And I remember this surgeon, because I've always been a little curvy, whatever. I remember the surgeon like looking at me at first and he goes, well, we need to get this surgery done immediately, but you're too fat. And so I, for 2.5 years, got body shamed the shit out of myself by surgeons, by family members, by a marriage that was toxic. And that's as much as I'll say about that. Took 12 surgeons to find the right surgeons to do my surgery. And in the process of this, I was full-time mom to two children. and I was trying to lose weight and I was dealing with addiction around me, not myself, but around me. And I had my surgery, but during it, I have to find my sense of humor. If I can't find something funny about the crap that is hitting, I am not okay. So I named it the alien baby. And then I also, I know. And I also called it Seamus. And there's a reason for that. Because people would think I was ashamed of it. It wasn't that at all. I'm a reader, and Seamus Haney is one of my favorite authors who wrote Beowulf. And I felt like Grendel's mother. I felt like Grendel's fucking mother through the entire process. And so I named it Seamus and would call it the alien baby. As I'm carrying this mass that kept growing in the front of me, I looked deformed. It was embarrassing at times, totally stripped me of any ego that I had whatsoever. And just at times I felt broken. There were times where I would be crying on the floor, thinking this would never get any better, taking care of my baby, taking care of my daughter, who was 11 at the time herself, and just trying to get through the next day. And so I found two wonderful surgeons. Bless their hearts. I love these men to this day. I won't say their names because they've asked me not to, but one is retired. The other, he's busy. He's in Los Angeles. I lived in California at the time. And they saved my life. They saved my life. They removed it. I had to learn how to walk again because when
Wow.
you carry 65 pounds in the front of you and it's
Yeah.
all taken out of you, you are wobbly. I had a walker and I was joking that I was Texas Walker Sarah, like just trying to get around. I
Fucking
had to
love your
be,
humor.
I had to be funny or I wasn't gonna make it through it.
Right.
And so I'm writing about that because I think that there are other women and men, I'm not excluding the men, who have gone through something so demeaning to whom they are that for me, having somebody come and refer to me as being fat and this fat and that fat and being too fat and going, I want you to look like this, like an hourglass. You have something in you that you can either fall down and stay down, or you can do what I've taught my kids. It's not about how we fall down, it's about how we get back up that matters. And I got back up. My marriage exploded. I got happily divorced. I celebrate my divorce anniversary, which she laughs about every year.
I totally had a divorce party too. I was like, fucking score. Let's go.
What do you do for yours?
I went out with my girlfriends and we had a freedom party. So we dressed up in red, white, and blue.
I love that. I love that so damn much. Every year I take myself out to dinner. I buy myself something pretty, and I just enjoy having the time to myself where I just say good things because, you know, I deserve it. We all deserve that. We all deserve to love ourselves in an authentic way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was heinous. If you see pictures of it, and I'll put that in the book. Like I sometimes now, because it's been 8 years, I cannot recognize that sad girl that I was. I want to hug her a lot and say, it's gonna be okay, Sarah. Just get through it and you're gonna,
Hmm.
but
That
yeah.
is that is so that's so much having all of that on your shoulders all at once.
Yep.
Like I know the listeners, there's ones out there that know what it's like to have a newborn baby, right? And especially having that second newborn baby. There's ones out there that know what it's like to have something like this hernia happen. There's ones out there that have been in toxic marriages or marriages that are just not good for your well-being at all. Like everybody knows something about your story, but you have that whole bit.
Yep.
It was all on you.
And I had postpartum with my son. I didn't get to hold him for the first few days of his life. We didn't get to have that skin to skin contact because he was in the ICU.
Mhm.
And I think that added, there were times where it tweaked me one way or it tweaked me the other way, where I just was not me. I was like a feral beast. So Grendel's mom kind of fit in because she goes nuts. Beowulf, like when you think about Grendel, I don't know if you've read Beowulf, but and it's okay, I'll nerd out for just a second, but I swear I'll bring it back in.
I love it.
Grendel's
Nerd out hard.
well, Grendel, he's this invasive, being in the story of Beowulf, but his mom is scarier because she's scared and worried for her son. And I felt like a feral mother who would have stopped at nothing to make sure that one, my children were okay, and two, I was okay for my children. And there are times that I look back going, I don't even recognize who you were. And then I had to not only forgive, but honor myself and going, you did the best you could with the skills you had at the time. And you were taking on having a newborn who, you didn't bond with him right away. We have now since beyond bonded. And also, my daughter was 11. That's a hard time, She's going through hormones and things like that. And my marriage was falling apart. And it's just, there was a lot going on, and it was so hard. So if people are going through one aspect of it, just because I was going through a lot all at once, doesn't make me better than anyone else. It just
Oh
makes it a
yeah.
human experience that, damn, like,
Yeah. It does make you one hell of a warrior. I want you to remember that
thank you. Thank you for that.
because that's, and I understand what you're saying because it's there's an integrity piece that I think that we both stand in, where it's not levels. There's no levels to this. It might feel like it at times, and sometimes it's easier for our brains to see it that way. But at the end of the day, the path that you have walked, everybody has one. Yours is just one of the most inspiring that I've ever heard.
Thank you.
You're
It did,
welcome.
it didn't at certain times feel like I'd inspire anyone. There were days I wanted to give up. There were days where I had planned to give up. And I look back now, and I mean, those 8 years have come, right? Then they've gone so quickly since then. They've come through in this way where I mean it. I authentically look at myself every day. I have this little picture of myself on my desk of when I was 8 years old, and I look at it, and every day I say, Sarah, I love you. Because
Mm.
8 years ago, I did not love me. I thought I was deserving to be punished and tortured. And how I got through some of that, yes, absolutely was my humor. I'm very funny, and I have no qualms with admitting that, like, at one point I was a secret comedian. Like, I got in a lot of trouble in school for my mouth. And that is okay.
Same.
But right. I still like get the, especially to my poor father, which if he hears this, he'll laugh. Dear Mr. Ludlum, we love Sarah's enthusiasm in class, but if she could dial it down and be a little quiet, that would be great. No, I plan to not ever go silent. So,
Right, right. I honestly, I think you might agree with this. Humor, laughter, all of that is it's an essential piece.
mhm.
It's it is almost a non-negotiable. If you are walking, like it reminds me of what is it, the Rodney Atkins song? Like if you're going through hell, keep on going. Like
Yep.
you have got to walk through that shit. You have got to feel the burns. You've got to cry. You've got to scream. You've got to face it head on. You cannot run. You cannot avoid. You cannot act like it's not there. And the whole time, one of one of the most powerful times, I should say, throughout my experience, and I'm sure yours from what you're saying, are the times when I could walk through there, fucking hands to the sky, fire burning me up, and just start laughing. Be like, this is not gonna take me down. There's no fucking way. This fucking stupid shit. Like, no, like
No.
the humor, I feel like all comedians, all people that can find humor in the darkness, like we all have a special bond together because we understand.
It's so true. Like I remember post surgery, post the surgery, being in the hospital, and my best friend, I love her. She's more of a sister to me. She had prepared, like her love language is to prepare you food, and I'm happy to be partaking in anything that woman cooks. God bless her heart. But she was like, "Now don't let them see the back of your gown be open." And I'm like, but they could check out my butt. Like they literally have seen everything else, in the world. And so she bought me this robe, and I still laugh about it to this day because I completely forgot to wear it the whole time I was in the hospital. And I didn't care. You get to a point where you're like, if that's the worst that you're gonna see is my butt walking around, you
Right.
have no idea. Well, the special, they give you special things to cover, which is so stupid, but you kind of have to laugh. You have to find the humor. And I remember standing hysterically because I had to do 3 laps around this hallway before I was allowed to like stop for the day. Because again, I had to relearn how to walk, right? And I
Yeah.
laughed my ass off like a hysterical lunatic, going around each time going, and I did another lap. I did another lap, and I'm done. And I just remember sitting there, and they're like, "Do you want to do another lap?" I'm like, "Can I have like 2 minutes, please?" I will
Right.
like do another lap. But you do have to find the humor, as you're saying. Like Kate Bush's song Running Up That Hill. I love
Yeah.
that the show has brought that back. But that song helped me a lot, and music helped me. Music helped me through the whole thing. I had to walk and lose 100 pounds in order to like have the surgery to begin with. And I danced my ass through the paseos of where I lived, listening to all sorts of music. And I have no shame. To this day, I had my headphones on and I would be walking my ass and dancing my ass off in the middle of areas, wait until somebody wasn't nearby, and I'd really like let loose. You just have to. Like, you
You
just have.
do. That's why we're alive. Right
It
there. Like,
is. I still love, we do random dance parties in my house. When things get too heinous, I'll like put music on and we just start
mhm.
dancing. Best way to cut tension is just to dance.
Yep. I couldn't. Dancing and laughter. I tried to combine them there. Dancing and
Like,
laughter. Like, that's been, I don't know. There was a part of my life where I didn't really understand. You know when you like are in the thick of it and you don't really understand what's going on and you hold tight to the minimal pieces that you have of understanding and clarity.
oh
There was a
my God.
part, yeah, there was a part of my journey where I was like, I all I know right now, something that means something to me, and I didn't even know to call it like a value or a piece of my values was to hold on to a soft heart through the hell I was in. Like to like you said, to not let it harden me, to not let it turn me into I know what my demons are. I know where I come from. I know how dark I can get. I have made friends with those motherfuckers. So my peace comes from a lot of work to not let that shit come forward and to not let myself get real dark because I can that's one of my gifts because I can help people go really deep into the dark, into the shadowy shit because I ain't scared of that. And I have our lanterns. Let's fucking go. Let's head
Yep.
in. But man, when I was in it, I just remember being like, I have got to laugh and I've got to dance. I have to have music. Music has always meant so much to me as well. And I remember holding on to them and not understanding why the understanding of keeping my heart soft and then the music and everything at such a young age. I'm like, I don't know why this means so much to me, but it does. And they were my foundations through the hell I walked at a very young age.
Oh my goodness, yes. And it's wild how a song will get you now to
Mm-hmm.
dive back in and make you dig into work that you thought that you had taken care of, but really
Yeah.
it's kind of like, nope, here's the joke in that. Like, have you heard the song from Hoser, Damage Gets Done
I'm
with
sure I
Brandy
have.
like
Oh,
when you're
yes,
out of
yes,
this,
that one.
okay. So that song, the first time I heard it, I couldn't stop listening to it and I couldn't stop crying through listening to it. There was something that needed to break out and break open, like what you're talking about, that needed
Mm-hmm.
to break open, and I couldn't figure it out. It was pissing me off. Like it was pissing me off that I couldn't figure out what that break was. And when we were, having the spring retreat, it clicked. So that's part of the other trifecta. So it's funny that we're coming here because to circle back around with that was when I decided to start writing my book because I had found out this group I belong to called the Unsealed, which I should have put on the thing with you, and I realize that now. I'll send you an email with it.
Yeah.
Um, I had a poetry piece put into there and have it published, and it was the first thing I had actual physical book in my hand. And my sweet girl, my daughter, bought the first copy for me to sign for her. And so I would listen to the song and I would just cry. And I did the ugly cry, like not the pretty cry where you look
Right.
all dainty in like a Julia Roberts movie. Like I did the ugly cry where you're on the floor and you have things coming off your face and you look like hell.
Got a snot bubble coming up.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, ever so much. But then what happened? The song would end and I had to listen to it again. It wasn't even like a self-tortured situation. There was
Right.
something that needed to burst open. And yeah, it's amazing how we can go so easily into the dark path.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes music, well, not sometimes. For me, music is what always brings me in or out of something.
Yeah. Yeah.
This does.
Yeah, it's so important to me, to you, to like there's some people that are like, ah, no, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big on my journey of any kind, whether that's self-improvement or healing, whatever you want to call it, your path. But dude, there was speaking of that, there's a song. I believe that it like everything else in life, things show up for us exactly as they're meant to when they're meant to. And that for me has been songs. I have had people introduce me to songs my whole life, and I do it for others. I just think it's such a beautiful love language. And there was a friend of mine who I grew up with in my teenage years, and so she really understood the depths of hell that I was navigating at such a young age. And later on in life, she had also navigated some pretty hellish things, and she introduced me to the song "Praying" from Kesha. And at that point in my life, like we're talking 2016, 2017. It was not long after my divorce. And so at that point, I was, working an astronomical amount of hours every week. I was running this business and then I was also drinking heavily when I wasn't there and trying to numb and distract. And so the only parts of Kesha that I knew were like fucking club songs. I was like, why are you she's like, you have to hear this song. It's gonna mean so much to you. And I just know it. And I was like, it's a weird vibe that you're in right now if you're saying that. And I didn't know Kesha as this incredible artist with such depth. Like I had no fucking idea. And the first time I listened to Praying, I cried. I've never in my life cried that hard. Like I felt those tears from my gut. I fell. I couldn't breathe. And I just like the same as you, like I played that song over and over again because like you said, that's so perfectly put, lady. Like something inside of you feels like there's another one. It's about to burst. Like I just need to cry a little bit more. I need to let it out. And it's just this energetic release, this emotional release that changes your life forever. And that's why
Yeah.
I feel like when we do ceremonies and rituals together as women, whether in the Brazen Sisterhood or in the retreats, or when I'm working one on one with women, like whenever it is, like, please always consider bringing music in because these moments that we're creating for ourselves, these experiences, they are experiences. They need to have an emotional charge behind them. And if you know that there's a song that'll get you in the fucking place you need to be, like that is such a beautiful tool and it's such a deep and meaningful tool that we have used for literally since the beginning of human history. So I love this conversation. Have you ever heard the song Praying?
I have that song. I have it on one of my playlists. So we have this like running joke, my daughter and I. We share
Mm-hmm.
playlists back and forth with one another. And I
Mm.
had that rolling around about 2017. So I was going through my divorce around then. And I had the like, I forget how I named it because I'm always a smart ass, but it was like, oh, the courage to divorce that man is what I called it. And that was on there. So I know I do recognize. So I'm like, that song kind of killed me because I thought she was like a club pop artist. I didn't have
Yeah.
anything. I had no idea the depths of her brilliance. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I went through like a hardcore Pink phase too. Like when I'm pissed off, I want to listen to Pink. Like I
Same.
just, or I'm cleaning, like I'm angry cleaning, I
Mhm.
listen to certain things and it's like when I need something jovial, I'll listen to other things. And it's just I have more playlists than I probably should, but I have no regrets of any of them.
We are the same humans. I have a cleaning playlist that is 2016 to 2018 club mixes, so I
Love
can attempt to twerk while I mop my floors. I have an inner child healing playlist that I share with my clients. I'm pretty sure you have it too.
of
It
it.
has
Yep.
praying on it.
Hmm.
One of my favorite ones is my Sacred Feminine Rage playlist. Because when you're about to do a rage release, give me some motherfucking evanescence going under. Give me some of that just like dark feminine so I can get like there is nothing that'll make me alchemize energy faster than driving on a dirt road listening to Evanescence going under while I scream the lyrics at the window. That's fucking witchcraft right there. You best get out of my damn way.
Um, I went through a hardcore Evanescence phase where that was kind of the vibe. And then I brought in a little Brandy Carlisle to kind of soften me.
Mm.
Because like her song The Story, I first heard it when I moved up. So we were living in California and I was married and I was miserable and I'd had the surgery and we actually moved our family up to Washington State. And then
Mm.
things really exploded. And I was sitting there and I was crying and my mom, bless her heart, she helped me through this so much, her and my pops. And I have a stepdad, but I call him Pops because he's my pops. So I have a dad and a pops. I love them very, very dearly. And we were watching Grey's Anatomy. And my
Mm.
mom's like watching this, and I hear this song, and I just, of course, Shazam the shit out of that because I Shazam everything. And I couldn't stop listening to that either. So she healed me also her music in a way. And then I found out she was from up here. And I'm like, oh, if I ever meet her, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Brandy Carlisle is a damn angel. Have you heard her? She's in the group with Maren Morris and a few other incredible women called the High
Oh,
Women.
yes, I love that album.
Oh. The
I'm
the
getting like
act
the goosebumps.
same. Oh my gosh, that entire album. That album reminds me importance level of Weight of These Wings from Miranda Lambert. That
Oh my,
album from Miranda, oh my God, her and I were absolutely going through the same shit at the same time. Like we were riding that train together. And then when I heard specifically the High Women, like the song,
and a half
when she
woman.
says I was a healer, I
Hmm.
was like I if I hear that song, when I hear her say I was a healer, I break down no matter where I am. It's a little cry or a big cry. And when I sing those lyrics with all those women talking about we come back and like just knowing the sisterhood and what happens, and I believe that as women we all have come back several times, some of us, most of us. And like when I meet women like you, no, it's not my first time meeting you. No, it's
Yeah.
not our first time together in a ceremony or in a meditation or in a circle or crying together or even having these conversations. And it's just, there's something so beautiful to me when you have a platform of that size and you use it to make such beautiful art that reminds women of who we are and what we are and how sacred we are and how sacred this life is. And it brings us back because we live in a funky fucking world, yo. Like this shit's kind of weird sometimes. And like if
A
you
little
can get back,
stranger. Yeah.
right, if you can get back to what really fucking matters and what it feels like to be in community with sisters. So good.
Something so healing about it. A year ago, I took my daughter and I met up with a friend. I'm friends with the lighthouse keeper, and she's gonna hear this and she's gonna giggle. I'm very excited about this.
Gosh, Sarah, can we be best
Sure.
friends too?
I'm friends with the lighthouse keeper. I think she's amazing. Like she, another thing kind of clicked into place, but we went and saw the Indigo Girls last year. They were playing up here. I live in a town called Port Townsend, Washington. Little Victorian town. Like look them up, check them out. It's very cool.
Yes.
They film Practical Magic an island away from us. Like it's ferry trip away. Yeah, if you ever come up here,
Mm,
like let me know. We'll go do something
I
fun.
will for sure.
Yeah, and so we went to go see it, and there was this moment where there are all these women in this auditorium, and they're all singing to the Indigo Girls, and I have this aha as I'm like listening to the women sing because I mean I love music. When I say audiophile, I do not mean like oh, I listen to one genre. I listen to every genre. I've never found
Hmm.
one genre that I can't find something I love about. And we're listening to this and we're singing along, and I look over at my daughter, and she's singing along because she has been singing along to them her whole life. And to have a collective of a bunch of women singing along, there was something very magical about that. And there's this collective thing that is drawing us right now with especially women. I don't want to speak for men, but for women, where it's like music is healing and we need that more than ever. And yeah, there's just, I can go through my life and tell you who I was listening to when.
Yeah. Who are you
And what
listening to right now?
So right now I'm back onto a Brandy Carlisle kick. I go through her a lot. Like I go through it, but I'm also back onto Joni Mitchell. I went
Mm.
through phases where I really listened to Joni a
Yeah.
lot and the Beatles. But that's
Yeah.
because of my puppy. So
Fuck
like
yeah.
I know I have a puppy. She's so cute. She's not here right now. My daughter took them out of the house because she's at part husky, so she's quite the chatter, which is why I
Hmm.
haven't been in our like Brazen Sisterhood things for the last few weeks because I'm desperately trying to train this little puppy. So she's part husky, part retriever. My daughter Sadie got her for me as a gift
Mm.
to heal. And her name is Aria Prudence. And Prudence after the Beatles. Dear
Hmm.
Prudence, my favorite songs. And
Mm.
Aria's after Game of Thrones because I'm a total nerd. I have no shame about that. It's either going to be a Star Wars name or it's going to be a Game of Thrones name. So,
I
yeah.
love that about you. You truly are so yourself. And like, it's weird to me. I think it's probably because at a soul level, it feels weird to me to say that it takes courage to be yourself because at a soul level, that doesn't quite make sense. Like it shouldn't have to take that much courage to be yourself.
It
But
does.
here in this world, it does. And the courage that you have cultivated and the resilience, the determination, the spiritual awakenings that had to have happened and continue to happen, those are always a fucking trip and a half. Did you go through one too where you were like, am I talking to aliens? Or is that what am I talking
Oh,
to?
oh yeah. There was at one point where I actually it's funny, I wrote about it. Where I was like, am I schizophrenic?
I was like, am I schizophrenic? What the fuck is going
Like,
on?
I'm like, it's like I was pulled over on the side of the road in my car because again, listening to music and it made me cry. And so I was like sitting there and I'm having a full conversation with myself in the car. And I'm like, holy crap, am I schizophrenic? Am I mentally ill? Do I need to get checked? And I went to my good friend who she's a therapist and I asked her and she goes, no, sweetheart, you're healing. And
Right.
healing is linear. And it was the first time I'd ever heard that, you know? And I was just like, so I'm not nuts. She had to say it probably about 4 to 5 times for me to get it to click in the brain of like, okay, I'm cool, right? Like it's all good.
Right. Right.
And the whole being authentic, it does take courage. It does take massive amounts of courage because there was a long period of time for 19 years. I wasn't allowed to be myself. I wasn't allowed to wear my hair the way I wanted. I wasn't allowed to wear makeup. I wasn't allowed to chew food the way that I wanted. It was so controlled and so fucking damaging that now I'm like, fuck it. If I want to chew with my mouth open, I'm gonna. If I'm gonna have a coffee mug and it sits here with lipstick on it all day, fuck yeah, I'm gonna do that. I have all the makeup now. I bought the lipstick you told me that was like the good red, and I love that. Love it. Like,
Can we give it a shout out right now? I think more women need to know. Will you tell everybody what you got? Everybody always wants to know what red lipstick I'm wearing. And you grabbed it.
see, and I have like my makeup carousel next to me. Okay, so it's NARS, and it's called. Is that how you say that? It's
It
NARS,
is.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Called Star Woman. How fucking cool is that name?
I know.
But this like lipstick, it's life for me
Yeah.
because
It's
like
the
lipstick looks orange on me, and I didn't want a red orange. I wanted a blue orange. We had this conversation, and you're like,
right.
girl, this stuff,
It's the liquid lip pigment.
liquid matte. Yeah.
Yes. And that was what I actually started wearing that exact brand and that exact one when I worked with Sephora back in 2016, 17, 18 era. And dude, we'd be under fluorescent lights all day wearing these like fucking giant like I don't even know. They were nasty and heavy and gross. And I had to wear makeup that would stay all day. And it was very long hours running that place. And I just remember I'm like, I gotta find like all these lipsticks that were like fucking $70 or some shit. I'm like, why? Because I wore it. How am I supposed to sell that to somebody when that shit doesn't stay on me? Like, I'm not gonna, whatever. That was the only one. NARS liquid lip pigment, the matte, super matte, power matte, whatever it's called. That was the only one. And it's every color I love. There's one called American Woman, I think it's called, and it's like a beigey color, pinky color. Oh, it's delicious. I promise you one day, very soon, NARS is gonna reach out to me. I've been sending them vibes like, yo, I tell everybody about your stuff. I think you and I should work together.
No, you totally should. I love the fact that I can ask you too, like what makeup hints and tips and tricks because I mean it.
Yeah.
When you're allowed to wear makeup for like 19 years, you go back into like that part in the teenage youth where you're like, it looks good if you put eyeshadow here and here, right? I didn't know what the hell contouring was. I didn't know what blending was for so many years. Like blue mascara, hell yeah, bring it back. Like,
Oh,
but I like to play
yes.
with makeup now. I get to. Not only do I get to, I love it. Taking my daughter makeup shopping this afternoon because I'm teaching her how to put makeup on. Like, when she's
Oh,
doing a great job herself, I'm not taking credit. Sadie Jane, and she knows I'm going to say her name. She gave permission, which, by the way, named her after myself. That's a funny thing in and of itself. But watching her go through her journey of putting on makeup and doing that is empowering, and her music tastes and just getting to raise a daughter to be her own person is the most badass experience that I've had. That takes more courage than being authentic for me.
Oh, I would love to hear more about that. I know that your past is littered with so many opportunities for you to grow and to heal and to go deeper and to gather these skill sets. And it's fucking miraculous what you have walked. I would love to know what your future is and what does it feel like to raise a daughter that is that empowered?
First of all, it's very ironic to raise a daughter that will tell you point blank to your face the things that you are desperate for someone else to be brutally honest with you about. And many times I'm like, thank God for this. And there are times I'm like, I'm in the corner crying because she said what I didn't want to hear and it's face my shit and I don't want to. Like, I was a baby when I had her. I was 22. My brain wasn't fully developed. And it was just her and I pretty much day one. When
Mhm.
we joke around, we watch Gilmore Girls like religiously, the two of us, because I did. I stole from Lorelai Gilmore, naming her Sadie Jane after myself. Sarah and Sadie mean the same thing. I'm Sarah Jane, she's Sadie Jane.
Mhm.
And it's scary as hell. It is the most satisfying experience to raise her and her brother too. With a girl, it's so different though. She's
Yeah.
the most beautiful thing I have ever done in my life. Her brother is the most handsome, but she is the most beautifully authentic human being. And
Mhm.
I have to say, I'm more proud of her every single second of every single day for decisions that she makes, for the way that she takes a pause. Like, she's the calm in our family. Like, my son and I are feisty little Irish people who are like, "Rah!" And she's like, now let's take a moment and breathe. We're like, we want to fight. She's like, we need to breathe. She's just that calm. But she also has this fire lit underneath her. Do not underestimate her strength by thinking that she's weak because she says, let's be calm. She'll come back
Mhm.
at you so quickly and like take you out in a way where you're like, I did not expect that. The same thing physically. She is ferociously strong. I am so proud of how intelligent she is. She's so gifted and talented. I'm humbled by her. I'm humbled by her and her little brother. They are the most amazing part of my journey. And my future is that I've gotten to raise them and I get to watch them grow into being their own people. How cool is that?
That is so cool. You are the best mom.
Thanks. I don't know. I was kind of a wretched beast mom earlier this week. I was not my nicest self.
Yo,
There come
listen,
moments. Yeah.
this
Mhm.
eclipse season has been a motherfucking doozy,
I'm
okay?
like, when is it done? Like, can we just
October
know?
October 2nd is when we have the solar coming through. That doesn't mean that it ends. Of course, we still got that energy rocking, but I will tell you this, we are going downhill in a good way right now. We're
I
going
gotta see
downhill in a good
the
way.
shit out of everything because it's been nuts. I don't like this eclipse season. It can go die. I'm ready for it to be done.
But dude, this the reason it feels so gnarly, I have found, is because so many of us at a collective level, dare I say all of us, are releasing these patterns, these cycles, these behaviors, these fears, these stories, whatever the fuck that we've carried between like 15 to 17 years. Like this is old shit. This is not like think of like if you pulled a splinter that was just a little bit in your skin, and that's like something that you picked up in the last few years that you're still kind of working through. You pull out the splinter, it hurts a little bit, but it's okay. Then I want you to consider like a big motherfucking splinter that's all pussy and it's been in you for a bit since almost 20 years ago, and you pull
It's
that
barbed.
motherfucker out.
It's
The
a
what?
barb. It's a barbed one. It's
Yeah,
barbed. It's a
yeah,
barbed splinter. That
yeah,
shit's brutal. Like,
yeah.
I'm not
That's what's
gonna
been,
lie, it's doing some cleansing, and I think
dude.
that is a good thing. But I'm also kind
Hmm.
of pissed at it. Like,
Yeah, man.
just
That's what's been going on though. Do you know, I don't want you to have to say it on here because it's so personal what we're all going through, but like, dude, do you feel you know what you've been releasing that's been like almost 20 fucking years?
oh my gosh, yeah. And actually, I will totally share that. I
Yeah.
really, there's two things that I've thematic. So I like to try to journal at night, to like release my shit. It's
Yeah,
like
man.
And one of them is letting go of holding it all together. Because for
Mm.
19 years, well, actually 22, shit, she's 22. For 22 years, I had to hold things together with like a grip vice that like now that I'm releasing it, I'm having a moment where I'm like, but she's an adult. She can do her own thing. Like she right now is with her brother and our two dogs, taking them for a little adventure. And a year ago, I would have cried and go, don't go without me. I need to know that you're safe. No, no, no. I've done the right thing by raising this sweet kid that she is fine. She's
Mhm.
okay. She's thriving. So like really releasing that fear of holding on to everything because you got to keep it together and you got to keep it okay and you got to keep everyone safe. Like that is a big one. That is a big fucking one. And the other is like taking time out to step back for myself.
Mm.
I've been raising people for a really long time. I have an older niece that I was 18 and started taking care of her. I've been doing this since I was 18 years old, which is why I put on there I'm a reluctant life coach. I have people
Yeah.
asking me for advice all the time on child rearing, on taking care of a home, on how to go back to school because I went back to school during the pandemic and got my associate's degree. I'm still working on my bachelor's. Like I've never been that person that just sits still and goes, I'm gonna do this one thing. I've never been her. Never. And that's okay.
I love it about you. It's one of my favorite things.
Thank you. Sometimes I have doubts where I do go to, I need to get mentally checked because I'm doing photography and writing, and I'm writing on music, and I'm doing this, and I'm creating art, and I'm selling this, and I'm doing that. Is that okay? Yes, it is absolutely okay.
It's more than okay, girl.
It is. I'm a little tired, don't get me wrong. Like, thank
Hmm.
goodness for moisturizer. However, it's important in this time in our lives that we embrace the little bit of wackadoodle that's going on, but
Hmm.
also find our own paths. So if that meant I had to carry a 65-pound hernia that I named Alien the Seamus, Seamus the alien baby, that's okay. If
Yeah.
that's what got me through it, it's okay. But what I
Mm.
refuse to do is ever go back to being in a situation where I allow anyone to ever fucking shame me again.
Yeah, man. Fuck that.
I've done enough of that crap. The hourglass is something that I'm working on too, a piece that I'm writing, because I had someone who brought to my attention that I should look like an hourglass.
Mm.
And so I had this like, we have this vindictive part of us too, that when we've survived something, we want to be vindictive. Choose
Mm.
not to. Choose
Right.
to thrive, choose to heal, and choose to move on. But in my head, I've sent him like 19 different hourglasses in my head. But it's not worth it. It's more about creating an environment for ourselves where we love ourselves authentically.
Yeah.
We are courageous to jump and leap off and say, yeah, I'll do a podcast with you, Heather. No problem. And then for like weeks going, what the hell did I sign on to do?
Mm.
And then having to get a pep talk from your 21 at the time year old going, Mom, do this. It's important.
Yeah.
And then you have a puppy coming at you and you're like, I can do hard things. I've got a puppy. And I'm dealing with running two businesses. And I have two kids. Holy crap, what did I do? Be authentic in yourself because if you're not authentic in yourself, you are shortchanging yourself. You just are.
Mm. I just
So,
adore you. I want to read this. This is just so perfect. I asked you, because I always send, just for the listener, I send outlines to the guests that come on the podcast just to kind of collab on some different topics. And I always ask them what they're currently sitting in appreciation and gratitude for. And I just love it. I just love it so much. I'm sitting in appreciation and gratitude for the journey that I have survived and how I am transforming my life. And you also said through the work with me, Heather, and the Brazen Sisterhood to thrive. But I mean, just like a shameless plug on that one.
oh
Please
no,
come and join the Brazen.
shamelessly plug yourself.
Oh,
So,
that brazen means bold and without shame. When I was looking for a word for my original business, my how this empire started, Travis actually came up with the word. He was like brazen. It's bold. It's without shame. It's you are who you are. Um,
it
but
fits.
yeah, please come and join the Brazen Sisterhood. You will love it so much. But I love that you're sitting in the appreciation and gratitude for not just how you survived, but how you're transforming your life now. Because
Yep.
there's so many chapters of your life, and the chapter that you're in now is thriving. Like, what does that feel like to be here now?
Right, like, have you ever put on like high heels for the first time and you're wobbling around a little bit and you feel like a little unsure with how your footing is?
Yeah, yeah,
All of a sudden you practice a little bit more and a little bit more, and then the next thing you're like running like Linda Carter Wonder Woman, like the badass you are, in boots with like a heel on them. You're like, I got this. It's okay to be at the part where you just put on a pair of new heels and you're trembling around and you're a little wobbly. It's
yeah.
okay. I'm at the point now, I'm not quite running yet, but my stride is getting a lot faster, and that's okay too. And it's just
Mm,
about putting one foot in front of the other, as they say. And teaching people, I have to say this because my grandmother is a huge part of who I am in my heart. She's sitting right here. A picture of her. She always said we teach people how to treat us. So if there's any lesson I can also get through with this entire thing is we teach people how to treat us. But I think it also goes into the mirror of who we treat and how we treat ourselves.
mm-hmm.
Because god damn, I look back at myself from 8 years ago and I just want to hug her and go, it's gonna be okay, kid. You got this. Just love yourself a lot quicker than you did. That's the
Mm,
only thing I have regret that I didn't tap into that sooner.
yeah.
So, and I can
You know
say I,
what? Say it again louder. Let me hear it louder.
I love myself authentically now.
Yeah, you do. You want to know what's so interesting? You were telling me before we pressed record that there was just so many like synchronicities that have occurred to, have our paths cross, that is, and as we've been working together. And what you just said is one of the first videos I ever had go viral. One of the first videos I ever had go viral, I said, you give people the blueprint of how to treat you based off of how you treat you. And
It's
it went viral.
it's fact.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
It is. Oh,
I
your
love
grandma
what
was
was
a
viral for
wide
you.
woman. Oh my gosh, girl, if you think that I wasn't manifesting the shit out of that though. Oh, my
I'm not a
entire
manifesting. I get it. You taught me about
oh
manifesting. I didn't think that was real. I was like, oh, it's just so made up jargon. No, it's true. Holy
dude, it
cow.
is. I thought it was too. I thought it was because do you remember like the It Works? Do you remember that like
Yes.
pyramid? Okay. Okay, so I promise this comes back around. So I used It Works products and when I was really young, when I was like 17 maybe, I was selling Pampered Chef already. And like and then I got into It Works. Like I got into it. I was like, I can make money like this. It's easy. And I remember like getting out, I wasn't really deep in the It Works or anything like that, but I remember getting out of it and just being like, oh, okay, I need to figure out what I want to do here. I want to figure out what's going on. And I started like tinkering with Pinterest. It was back in those days where I really wasn't on a whole lot of social media. It was mostly just Pinterest. And I saw like all this stuff about manifesting. And I prefer to call it co-creating, but I still say manifesting because most people say that instead. Um, but I remember seeing all this stuff about manifesting, and I was like, is this just like a silly thing? Like, are coaches just like fucking whatever this was, pyramid scheme? Like, I thought it was bullshit. And I was like, no, because life is like my belief was so deep that life was suffering somehow,
Yep.
that it was a requirement to suffer, that it was a badge of honor to suffer, that if you talked about how hard your day was and how you didn't get any sleep and how you feel like shit and how you like that's what was around me. And I just
Yeah.
remember being like, manifestation, that doesn't even make sense, but also my heart felt so pulled to it. I was like, that makes more sense than anything else though. Like, what the fuck? And like as I've gone deeper into it, I dropped it for a while. I set it aside, especially after my divorce, because like your girl was just trying to survive after that one. Um, but when I got to Tennessee, I started doing a lot of rewiring work with especially Dr. Joe Dispenza. I don't really follow him as much anymore. I think that he's very brilliant, but there's just pieces that I don't really align with anymore. But I was doing a lot of work from him, and I just realized that so easily. I was like, oh my gosh, we're always manifesting. We're always co-creating. Like that's an always thing. It's not like something we turn off or turn on. The turn off or turn on is the awareness and the intentionality behind the co-creating and manifesting. If you're going to use your words, especially with an emotional charge behind them, you're casting. And if you cast, I feel like shit and blah, 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 and burr, 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 that's what's going to be your life. And if you cast, I will have this life. I am this life. I am like, if you do that, then that will be true. And it was just such an eye opener to me because I was like, oh shit, there's a different way to live. Holy shit, I
Right?
can live different. Like, it was the coolest thing. It was like, it reminds me of since I was a child, I'm one of those weirdos. I think you're probably one of these weirdos too. Probably the
Probably.
listener too. I kind of forgot they were there for a second. What's up, listener? Um, I've been one of those weirdos since I was a kid where like I've been looking for a home that doesn't exist, if that makes sense.
Oh my goodness, does it ever exist? Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get
So
it.
like I've been doing that and I've been feeling that and like I found the home within me and like, all the levels of it, but I'm like, no, there's more. Like there's something. Like there's this piece, even talking about it, like my whole body is lit up. And like it's so connected to that for me because as I opened up this understanding of co-creation and manifestation and the laws of the universe and quantum physics, and like I started diving in and it became like my fucking special interest and my hobby. I was like, oh my gosh, this is everything that I love about life. I was like, dude, this is like, that makes sense to me because that feeling then is the life that I know I'm meant to be living. and the woman I'm meant to be. And that's that home. Like, I believe it's also more. I believe there's layers, but like that clicked for me so hard one day where I'm like, that home that I've been searching for is because I knew there was a different way to live. I knew there was a better way to live. I knew I could heal. I knew I could reach my goals. And it's been the most beautiful journey on my end. Is that what happened for you too, since you
It
apparently
is.
are a little weirdo too?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely like so we have this running joke since I was little that I cannot be landlocked. I need to be near the beach. And right now, I drive down the street and I'm in the Puget Sound and I put my feet in the water as much as possible. And there is a part of manifestation, like, okay, I'm not, like where I'm physically living right now is not the house where I'm ending up. I know this, but I'm in the area. Like I'm in the vicinity and I feel like it's layer after layer after layer. I'm getting closer. And I always had this vision when I was a little girl that I would be living near the beach. And I never thought I'd be a mom. I will say that. I never thought I was equipped to be a mother. I thought I'd be the most jacked up mom ever. So my kids now are part of this dream. But I was like, I always had a dog and I always was near the beach and I had my music and I had my art and I had my books and I had my writing, like and photography and all that. Now I feel it. It's like I'm almost there, but I'm so much closer than I was even a year ago, even 6 months ago, even a month ago. So it
Mhm.
is. It's about manifestation. And you were talking about the word brazen. Mine is moxie.
Oh yeah, babe. Ooh.
I have this little pendant in my car that says moxie on it. And it's funny. I look at it every single time I'm in my car and I'm like, that's right, girl. Keep your moxie.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
There's definitely some manifestation things that happen. And like, when we're done today, it's my daughter's birthday. We're gonna go to the bookstore. That's what she wants to do. I love my little book nerd. And when we're on our way there, I get to cross the ocean. Like I get to look at the water, and it's like that brings me peace. There's something so majestic about being in the water, near the water, around the water, that
Hmm.
I feel very blessed that I am here where I am.
Yeah.
And I don't
You
take it for
manifested it. You
I
manifested every bit of it.
I did, but I didn't even realize that's what I was doing until after. And one day I sat there looking at it going, well, I'll be damned.
Hmm.
I did
Yeah.
that. That's
Right?
cool.
You know what I would love for us to do? I would love for us to have another conversation one day about a really major part of manifestation and co-creation, which is healing your relationship with a higher power. Because
Oh,
I know you grew up Catholic, I grew up Catholic, not no hate on the church, just not my vibe, not
well,
my
it was
stuff, not my
confusing.
shit.
Yeah, it was confusing. It
Yeah.
was Catholic on one side, Baptist on the other. Very confusing.
So confusing. I feel like that conversation about how you really have to figure out what you believe in
Oh, yes.
and you know, I had to switch from a God that was damning so many and you had to be scared of and this man in the sky that was pissed off. I knew what a pissed off man looked like. I grew up with them and I was like, I don't want that in charge of me. Like
Mm.
what? That's in charge of my life. This man child up in the sky because that's kind of how it was presented. And then
Yeah.
I had to just one day, I think you were in the retreat that I mentioned this. I was like I had to there's a song called Healer in the Sky.
Yep. We
And
crossed that.
yeah, it reminds me of the journey I had because I had to be like, no, there's a very loving. There's no disciplinary action. Like there's nothing I need to be in consistent fear about because that's just silly fucking goose behavior. Like, and it's crazy that because I had resistance to even saying God for a long time. It was either universe or source or creator or something. I had so much resistance to God because there's just that's a whole nother episode. But
That's
like I feel like that would be such a good episode for us to talk about because it's
yeah.
it's
And
so alive in so many of us where we have to heal our relationship with a higher power.
we do. I was pissed at God. I was really, quite frankly, angry with him when I was carrying the hernia. I went through a period there. I think I was on surgeon number 9. Because I mean, it took 12 surgeons and they all just body shamed the shit out of me and told me it was impossible. And I remember at one point, I'm so dancing my ass through the paseos down in California, trying to lose the weight and feeling defeated and saying, God, fuck you. And I was raised that you do not think that, you do not believe that, you do not ever, ever get close to that. And I was miserable in my marriage. And I remember looking at it going, if I'm going to get punished for being like this, what's going to get worse? Like it, I was pissed. I couldn't talk to God. I didn't talk to God for 6 months. I was fucking angry. And yeah, came back to it. And my relationship with God is so different than it was when I was a kid. And when I got divorced, I found my whole family who was wholeheartedly super religious. They're a little thumpy. I thought they were going to be mad at me. They've all given me their blessings and been like, we knew that was what you needed. And that blew my mind off. Like, I could
Yeah.
not, to this day, I still have moments going, wait, you're cool with that? Like, you gave me your blessing with that? Oh, wait, I never needed your blessing to begin with. Took me forever to get there, but I'm here now and that's a-okay. I have my
Yeah.
mocks. It's all good.
Mm.
Yeah, I'll totally have like a little godly chit chat with you because I'm
I
right
would
now
love that.
introducing religion to my son, and it's precarious because I don't want him to have the hangups I did growing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he needs the foundation of understanding too. So that's a
Yeah.
tricky walk. It's such a tricky walk right there. But yeah,
It
I've
is.
pissed at God a few times, but that 1 6 month period,
Mm. I can see why. I imagine so.
I was angry. I was so angry.
Hmm.
So
Oh, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. That's going to be such a good episode. And we can talk about the importance of alchemizing that rage and that anger and using it and not being scared of that. Like that was the silliest shit. Like looking back at my younger years and like it never felt right to me to suppress anger and to let it boil and fester inside and to avoid and to be scared and fearful all the time. I was like, what is this life? What are we talking about?
I
And like
know it's awful.
that'll be the best episode, dude.
Yeah, no, I'll be honest with you. I think I manifested the hernia out of anger. I think it was 65 pounds of fucking rage. I need to take a
Oh,
that in a chapter.
we have got to talk about that. We have got to I will bring all the books, you bring all the books. Let's thumb through some shit and discuss it because I feel like that's so important to
Hell there.
recognize. Dude,
Yeah.
it's so important to recognize how you know when you know something because it's innate and it's intuitive, it's part of who you are as a human, but it takes somebody doing it. Kind of like you said about the chandelier in the bathroom. You need an expander to show you that it's possible and it's safe. I had I mean, it wasn't just Travis's family, specifically his mom, but she was a big one because she was like, she has a substantial practice and she's like, she has her shit together type of person. But I had met people along the way that had told me like, the alchemization of rage and being able to work through this and being able to take all of this. Like I had seen it and I was like, no, dude, I can't do that. I'm not allowed to do that. And then when I met, like, when you're ready, the teachers show up. I had so many that showed up for me. I had this beautiful friend, Anne, who's been in Women Rising that I met in Wisconsin. And like all these people showed up in my life. And I'm like, life is supposed to be this. Life is not supposed to be hellish and awful. Like awful things can happen, yes, and uncontrollable and everything. And if you focus on that, it makes it worse. Like to be able to learn how to alchemize rage and to be able to learn what it means to truly be a woman who's in touch with her innate and instinctive and intuitive natures, that blew my fucking mind. I was like, oh my gosh, this makes more sense than anything else I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I definitely think we should definitely, I'm happy to talk about that. I think for me, grounding was such a changing moment. Because again, I'm gonna go put my feet in the water in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Speaking of,
been a
I
lot.
just realized I've kept you for almost an hour and a half. Well, we're gonna let you go because I want you to go hang out with your daughter. Will you tell her I said happy birthday?
I certainly will. She definitely she deserves to have a happy birthday. She really does.
Mm.
She's a great person. I try not to say kid because she's 22. How am I old enough for that shit? It's wild.
It is wild, dude.
Just turned 20.
Oh,
Like it feels like yesterday that I just had her. And I
right.
jokingly showed her a picture. She had so much hair, I didn't know what to do with it when she was born.
Yeah.
She had like a full pixie haircut when she was born. And we joke around that her hair's still just like out there in the breeze. So we're gonna go get some books and do some hair stuff and do some makeupy things. So
Yeah, especially because it's 11, 22, and 44. Like this is a special
how
moment.
wild is that, right? Yeah, this is definitely like a full encompassing moment that
Yeah.
we're having. So thank
So
you for
you,
having me. I feel very honored.
yeah,
I appreciate
yeah.
I appreciate you so much. I really, really do.
I
I wish I
appreciate you
was
so
there to
much.
hug you.
I
So
know. We're going to meet in person one day soon. Don't you worry. I believe we will.
if
I
they
have a
start
question
filming
for
like
you.
the second Practical Magic, I mean it, come out here. Like we'll just go take a ferry ride and go watch them film.
I'll be very honest with you. That area of the United States is a place that Travis and I have been wanting to go for years and years. So
Mhm.
there's a really good possibility that we're gonna go up there.
Go look up Port Townsend. Like just go Google it when we're done and like just go
Yeah.
check it.
Will you send me a message of how to spell it exactly?
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Thank
No,
you.
totally. Absolutely happy to.
So you know how we end these. We always
Yes.
like to ask the listener to go do something to treat themselves well and go treat somebody else well.
Yes.
So I'm gonna ask you, which one do you want to take today?
I think the go treat somebody would be
What do you want them to do?
I want them to take a moment and write down and list down three things they love about themselves.
Mm,
You know? And if that is
yeah.
in the form of like getting a good cup of coffee or tea or going and getting themselves like a good meal or buying a book or listening to some good music, do three nice things for yourself today. They can
Yeah.
be little, they can be big, doesn't matter. Just try to aim for three.
I love that. So write three things they love about themselves and then go do three nice things for themselves.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, lady. I love that.
Important.
I'm going to say when it comes to doing something kind for others, I'm going to ask the listener to be more generous this week. Be more
Mm,
generous. Remember your motherfucking boundaries. Okay, you gotta have boundaries with that, but remember your generosity. Remember what it feels like to give and to give freely and to do it from a very intentional place. So whether that means money or literally anything, just go out into the world for the next week with the intention that you're going to be more generous to others.
I love that so much.
Oh, I love you so much. Thank you for being on here.
Thank you so much for having me. I look
You're
forward
welcome.
to having a little religious chit chat. I'll bring my Bibles. I have a lot of them.
Yeah, I
Chat
love
about
it.
that.
I love it. All right, my dear. Have a
All right.
wonderful day and we'll talk
Thank you.
soon.
All right. Have a
Bye,
great one.
guys.